Behavior, psychological perspective. What is behavior? Most people use the word behavior mean to conduct. Psychology regards behavior as any observable activity by a human being. Most human behaviors result from a combination of factors. How can behavior be observed? Stimulus, consequence, response. What is stimulus? A stimulus can be defined as the energy available in the physical environment which impinge on an individual. How do we recognize or ignore this energy? Response to the stimulus: sensation, information. The response to the stimulus is sensation. At least 10 sensations have been isolated. Vision, audition, olfaction, touch, temperature, pain, taste. Common chemical sense, kinesthetic sense, vestibular sense. Perception. Perception results from adding meaning, sensation. Perception can be defined as the cognitive process of selecting, organizing and attaching meaning or interpretation to events, objects or people in the environment. Perception is said to have taken place only after the information, sensation, has been interpreted. Perception plays an important role in human behavior. Perception, influencing factors. Major factors. Learning. Motives and emotions. Maturation and heredity. Learning. We learn through perception. Past experiences or previous learning affect present perception. For example, gun. Hunter perceives it to be an object that evokes excitement. Hunter perceives it to be an object that evokes excitement. A person whose son is killed in a firing incident in the past perceives it to be an object that evokes fear and pain. Motives and emotions. Emotions and motives have major influence on perception. For example, hungry people tend to perceive food and related things everywhere. Prejudiced mind perceives selectively other people in ways that support it. For example, a boy who is in love with a girl perceives her every action as an indication of love towards him. For example, a boy who is in love with a girl perceives her every action as an indication of love towards him. Maturation and heredity. Maturity of sensory organs. Born blind cannot make sense of the visual environment, even after getting vision with the help of a surgery. After surviving for years in a lightless world, they have to unlearn all their auditory and tactile need to accommodate the new visual frame of reference. Heredity. Human beings are born with talents. These need to be developed through practice. Cognition, thinking. Cognition represents the most complex form of a human behavior. It is the highest form of mental activity. It is the basis for all human achievements. Concepts, problem-solving, language, intelligence and creativity all depend upon the ability to think. It is purposeful, mental manipulation of words and images. It helps the human to solve problems without any physical motion. Cognition, conted. There are few elements of thinking are identified, such as concepts, propositions, images, reasoning. Cognition, concepts. Concepts are mental categories for objects or events that look different but similar to one another in certain respects. Concept formation, abstraction, dogness, generalization. Biting is essential. Concepts classification. Concepts classification 1. Objects. Table, horse and man. Qualities. Brightness, sincerity and honesty. Relations. Big, small and narrow. Concepts classification 2. Artificial concepts. Tomato, triangle. Natural concepts. Painting, music and dancing. Cognition, propositions. Propositions are cognitive actions that relate concepts to one another, basic element of thinking process. Thinking is an active process. Frequently, thinking involves relating one concept to another or one feature of concept to the entire concept. Example 1. Politicians are often self-serving. 2. This is a very interesting book. Cognition, images. Images may be defined as a reviewed percept without a stimulation of the sense organs from an external source. Think about your friend. What happens? You make a mental picture of your friend. Cognition, imagination. Imagination is the process of manipulating the mental images in our thinking. We can imagine any way. Example: imagine a dog chasing a tiger. Cognition, reasoning. Reasoning is a form of logical thinking. Reasoning can be defined as a cognitive activity that transforms the information to reach specific conclusions. How people use formal reasoning procedures. There are two major forms. Deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning. Cognition, deductive reasoning. To explain deductive reasoning, Aristotle proposed a logical form called syllogism. Syllogism is a step-by-step approach to arrive at a conclusion. The steps are: major premise, minor premise, conclusion. Example: all men are mortal, major premise. Socrates is a man, minor premise. Therefore Socrates is mortal, conclusion. Cognition, inductive reasoning. The conceptual complement of deductive reasoning is inductive reasoning. In inductive reasoning we infer general rule from a specific case. Generally detectives and secret agents use this form of reasoning to identify criminals by amassing all the clues. Example: If a person blows pop music regularly, we try to form an impression about that person as a whole with that specific piece of information. Cognition. Cognition. Other important aspects: problem solving, trial and error method, testing hypothesis, algorithms, heuristics, working background, analogies, intelligence, emotional intelligence, artificial intelligence, cognition. Other important aspects: creativity, divergent thinking, convergent thinking, memory, sensory memory, short-term memory, long-term memory, attitudes, human behavior. Attitudes, human behavior. Attitudes are associations between attitude objects and evaluations of those objects. Attitudes is nothing but the quality and direction of our thought process through which we respond to the world. According to most psychologists, attitudes are learned. How attitudes are formed. Attitudes, human behavior. Attitudes are acquired through experience. Social learning, acquiring attitudes from others. Classical conditioning, instrumental conditioning. Modeling, learning by example, comparison and attitude formation. Genetic factors. Attitude formation, social learning. When we interact with others or merely observe their behavior, attitudes are learned. This is known as classical conditioning. Classical conditioning can occur below the levels of conscious awareness even when persons are not aware of the stimuli. Example. We can quote a real-life situation here. A young child, for instance, sees her mother frown and show emotional discomfort each time she encounters members of a minority group, a particular racial group. Attitude formation, social learning. A learning state to right views. This process is called instrumental conditioning. By rewarding children with smiles, approval or hugs, elders can play a key role in this process. Example. Parents applaud every time their child dances for a popular dance number. Dancing becomes a habit for the child. Positive reinforcement is the basis of this process. People repeat their attitudes when they receive reward and recognition for the right views. Modeling, learning by example. Modeling is a basic form of a learning in which we acquire new forms of attitude by observing others. Often children observe their parents and repeat whatever they do. Parents need to be careful and conscious in the way they exhibit their attitudes in the presence of children. Normally parents deny children from doing lots of things which are fine for themselves. G. Telling lies, smoking and watching adult movies. It is very clear that children learn to do what their parents do, but not what they say. Attitude formation, comparison. This refers to our tendency to compare ourselves with others. We use this in order to determine whether our view of social reality is correct or not. We often change our attitudes so as to hold our views closer to that of others. This process helps us to form new attitudes. We accept the fact that genetic factors influence the physical aspects i.e. height, color of skin and eyes, etc. Similarly, these genetic factors influence our way of thinking. Thought occurs in brain, and it is also a physical part, as any other part of the body which has influence of genes. However, to some extent, genetic factors do influence attitude. Behavior. Attitudes influence on human. Does attitude influence human behavior? If yes, when and how? According to Allport, attitudes are a set of tendencies and predispositions which have major impact on human behavior. Studies have shown that there is often a sizable gap between attitudes and behavior. Lapierre had interpreted the attitude-behavior gap as something between what people say and what actually they do. Behavior. Attitudes influence on human. Several studies have shown that there are major factors which serve as moderators. They influence to which extent attitudes affect behavior. They are most related to aspects of situation, aspects of attitudes of themselves, aspects of individuals. Moderators. Aspects of situation. They are purely situational. In fact, people cannot express their attitude, since that would be contrary to the norms in a given situation. Time pressure. If persons are under time pressure and as a result have to take a decision, act quickly, they tend to fall back on their attitudes as quick and easy guides. They become more attentive and use info carefully. Moderators. Aspects of attitudes themselves. The link between attitudes and behavior is strongly moderated by aspects of attitudes themselves: attitude origins, direct experience and indirect process. Attitude strength. Strength refers to the extremity or intensity of the attitude. How strong is the emotional reaction provoked by attitude object? Attitude importance. Self-interest, social identification, value, relevance. Moderators. Aspects of individual. Is attitude-behavior link is stronger for some persons than for others? Yes, through process called self-monitoring. Low self-monitored focus their attention outward and try to match with the people around them. Predictable. High self-monitored use their attitude as a guide to their behavior. Look or focus inward. Unpredictable attitudes influence on human behavior. How do attitudes influence behavior? Two basic mechanisms identified by researchers: attitudes, reason, thought and behavior. Intentions of the person. Subjective norms related to beliefs of the person, how others will evaluate this behavior. Attitudes, immediate behavior reactions. Attitude influences perception about several social norms. Personality, human behavior. Clearly speaking, there is something inside people that makes them think, feel and act in a situation. That something inside is what we mean by personality. Personality can be defined is what we mean by personality. Personality can be defined as the unique and consistent pattern of behavior, thoughts and feelings in a wide variety of situations over a long period of time. Consistency is the key. Personality determinants. Biological factors. Genetics. Hormones. Physical environment. Climate. Ions. Psychological factors. Self-concept. Intelligence. Personality determinants. Familial determinants. Identification. Child-rearing practice. Influence on self-concept. Social class. Social stratification. Cultural factors. Values and norms. Religion. Education. Personality types. Generally, people describe persons or personalities as shy, irritable, gullible, aggressive, dominant, sociable, easygoing, jovial, cunning, etc. To put it in simple terms, personality is the unique, relative, consistent pattern of thinking, feeling and behaving. Our personality, otherwise, is the behavior noticed by others. Personality types. Carl Gustav Jung studied personality versus behavior in depth and established personality types theory. He believed that each individual has a psychological type. He believed there are two basic functions which humans in their lives: how we take information, perceive; how we make decisions, response. Personality types. He believed that within these two categories, there are two opposite ways of functioning. We can perceive information via our senses or intuition. We can make decisions based on our objective logic or subjective feeling. Personality types. Jung believed that we use these four functions in our lives. An order of preference and difference in usage of these functions is identified in every individual by Jung. The most frequently used function is dominant. This is supported by auxiliary function, tertiary, inferior. Personality types. Jung derived in his theory that individuals either be extroverted or introverted as a dominant function. He felt that the dominant function is so important, it overshadows the all other functions in terms of defining a personality type. Personality types. Therefore, Jung defined 8 personality types. Extroverted sensing, modern types, ESFP, ESTP. Introverted sensing, modern types, ISTJ, ISFJ. Extroverted intuition, modern types, ENFP, ENTP. Introverted intuition, modern types, INFJ, INTJ. Extroverted thinking, modern types, ESTJ, ENTJ. Introverted thinking, modern types, ISTP, INTP. Extroverted feeling, modern types, ESFP types, INFP, ISFP. Personality types. The developed theory today is that every individual has a primary mode of operation within 4 categories. Our flow of energy, how we take in information, how we prefer to make decisions. The basic day-to-day lifestyle that we prefer. Personality types. Within each of these categories, we prefer to be either extroverted or introverted, sensing or intuitive, thinking or feeling, judging or perceiving. The combination of our 4 references defines our personality type. Personality types. Flow of energy defines how we receive the essential part of our stimulation. Do we receive it from within ourselves, introverted, or from external sources, extroverted? Is our dominant function focused externally or internally? Taking information deals with our preferred method of taking in and absorbing information. Do we trust our 5 senses, sensing, to take in information, or do we rely on our instincts, intuitive? Personality types. Make decisions refers to whether we are prone to decide things based on logic and objective consideration, thinking, or based on our personal, subjective value systems, feeling. Day-to-day basis. Are we organized and purposeful, and more comfortable with scheduled, structured environments, judging? Or are we flexible and diverse, and more comfortable with open, casual environments, perceiving? Personality types today. The theory of personality types, as it stands today, contends that an individual is either primarily extroverted or introverted. An individual is either primarily sensing or intuitive. An individual is either primarily thinking or feeling. An individual is either primarily judging or perceiving. The possible combinations of the basic preferences form 16 different personality types. Personality types: introverted, dominant introverted intuition, INTJ and INFJ personality type, dominant introverted sensing, ISTJ and ISFJ personality type, dominant introverted thinking, INTP and ISTP personality type, dominant introverted feeling, INFP and ISFP personality type. Personality types: extroverted, dominant extroverted intuition, ENTP and ENFP personality type, dominant extroverted sensing, ESTP and ESFP personality type, dominant extroverted thinking, ENTJ and ESTJ personality type. Dominant extroverted feeling. ENFJ and ESFJ personality type. Personality types. The four preferences. Extroversion and introversion. Sensing and intuition. Thinking and feeling. Judging and perceiving. Personality people. Extroversion and introversion. We are extroverting when we talk to other people. Listen to what someone is saying. Cook dinner, or make a cup of coffee. Work on the car. We are introverting when we read a book. Think about what we want to say. We are aware of how we feel. Think through a problem so that we understand. Personality types. Sensing and intuition. We are sensing when we taste food. Notice a stoplight has changed. Memorize a speech. Follow steps in a plan. We are intuitive when we come up with a new way of doing things. Think about future implications for a current action. Perceive underlying meaning in what people say or do. See the big picture. Personality types. Thinking and feeling. We are making decisions in the thinking mode when we research a product via consumer reports, and buy the best one to meet our needs. Do the right thing, whether or not we like it. Choose not to buy a blue shirt which we like because we have two blue shirts. Establish guidelines to follow for performing tasks. Personality types. Thinking and feeling. We are making decisions in the feeling mode when we decide to buy something because we like it. Refrain from telling someone something which we feel may upset, and decide not to take a job because we don't like the work environment. Decide to move somewhere to be close to someone we care about. Personality types. Judging and perceiving. We are using judging when we make a list of things to do, schedule things in advance, form, express judgments, bring closure to an issue so that we can move on. We are using perceiving when we postpone decisions to see what other options are available. Act spontaneously. Decide what to do as we do it, rather than forming a plan ahead of time. Do things at the last minute. Personality types. Few points to remember. No individual will fall into one category. It becomes clear that we cannot box individuals into prescribed formulas for behavior. Each of us has a natural preference which falls into one category, namely personality. Personality type indicates how we are likely to deal with different situations that life presents, and in which environments we are most comfortable. Learning about our personality type helps us to understand why certain areas in life come easily to us, and others are more of a struggle. Practical application for personality types. Learning about other people's personality types helps us to understand the most effective way to communicate them, and how they function best. Career guidance. What types of tasks are we most suited to perform? Where are we naturally most happy? Managing employees. How can we best understand an employee's natural capabilities, and where they will find the most satisfaction? Practical application for personality types. Interpersonal types. Interpersonal relationships. Understanding their reactions to situations. Communicate with them on a level which they will understand. Education. We develop different teaching methods to effectively educate different types of people. Counseling. We can help individuals understand themselves better, and become better able to deal with their strengths and weaknesses. Personality type. Human behavior. Stimulus. Consequence. Response. Human behavior. Change. Change is the only thing that is constant. Human behavior is complex and it changes by experience. Thank you.